Hello. I'm going to try this again. I tried it earlier and it wasn't as successful. This is my first time ever doing a live, and so I'm a little bit nervous just because of all the technology and everything going on. So I am going to try to do a live Q&A here, and I just wanted to let you guys know the sun is literally just coming up. It's early in the morning. Well, not that early. It's like 8:45 in the morning here on my time. So probably it's going to be a little bit later if you're watching from the East Coast. And I'm going to try to attempt to read all of these wonderful questions. And if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments and I will highlight them and we will try to do my best to answer them. Yeah, so without further ado, let's just get into it because I think it's going to be a bit. There are some amazing questions. So there was a few places I had posted. I'm not really on a lot of social media. I'm usually just on YouTube and Twitter. And I have a few that, hello, whoever's watching. I have a few questions posted to those. And so I created a few posts on YouTube and people were responding, which was wonderful. So I just have to say really quickly, I am at home with all my children and they may interrupt because it is the summertime. I was trying to get this done before they were out of school, but unfortunately that did not happen. And so we are just going to do what we can. All right, so here we go. The first question comes from Paperbacks and Ponytails, and it says, she goes, what has been your favorite book so far this year? That's actually a really good question. Hmm, my favorite book this year. You know what's unfortunate sometimes is you forget what you read. It has to be really memorable for me. I am really hard to get a 5 star out of. That's why I used to do videos that said, here are my favorite 5 stars, because it is really hard for me to rate a book at 5 stars. And I don't even think I have this year, except for nonfiction books. And I'm pretty sure she's asking for my fiction reading. So let me just take a quick look at my Goodreads, all my books on here, which I just wanted to say, I've actually was able to read more than I expected this year. I was able to I set my goal for 25 books and I've been able to go over that, which I'm super happy with. Okay, I'm just taking a look and I'm not going to do any nonfiction books because I don't think that's fair. Our recent reads that we just did for our book club, that has been a really awesome book for me. I really enjoyed that book and it was Beyond the Tides by Liz Johnson. That has been a favorite so far this year. There was some hiccups, but for the most part, it was really good. I also really liked reading Vigilante with Celestria, and that was by Robin Parrish. That was a really good book. I rated that 4 stars. And Heartless. I think those are my three top ones this year. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Um, oh, no, I just saw one. How can I forget this? It's Melanie Dickerson. That's terrible of me. Anyways, that's Court of Swans by Melanie Dickerson. I need to read more of her books. I know. Oh wow, actually, I've had quite a few good reads this year, and Castaway of Cornwall. There's not one. Um, Katie, there's not one. There's a couple. There is no 5 star ones though. That's the only downfall. Is I like I was saying earlier, it's really tough for me to get a 5 star read, which would be literally my favorite book of the year. So all of those were really great books, but none have really like captured me enough to be like, yeah, this is a great read for this year. My favorite color, that is so sweet of you to ask, is pink. So, yeah, just soft pastels, soft pink. That is definitely a favorite color of mine. She also asked, if you could take a vacation anywhere, where would you go? Okay, I live vicariously, obviously, through books like we all do. And I would definitely go to I think I've talked about this before, but Paris. I really wanna go to Scotland, because I have some heritage there, and I would love to go to Italy, um, Greece. I mean, obviously everywhere. I've only been to Canada and the States, like, not very far. So, I would love to travel to the European area and just explore and really indulge in some of their culture. That's definitely what I'd love to do. And then finally, she asks, "What is your favorite movie?" And I'm gonna say it's Mom's Night Out. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. I wish I could, like, pull up some, um, different shots to show you. That would've been kind of fun. I'm still learning how to use this whole streaming thing, so this is literally my first time ever, so we're just gonna go with it. Alright, so Christian reads and classics asks, You can only read from one author from now on. Who would it be?" And she says, "Not Melanie Dickerson," because she knows me so well. I laughed so hard when I read this. And so I would probably choose, honestly, if I were being really, really honest, I'd probably choose Julie Clausen. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and Julie Clausen is my favorite author besides Melanie Dickerson. She's an automatic buy. I buy literally everything from her, so that would definitely be one of my favorites. And, let's see. Okay. If you guys have questions, please put them on and I will answer those right away. But we'll just get through these ones first. Let's see. Okay. Tasha Willett, she asks, if you could have a conversation with someone from the past, who would you choose? That is a really great question. Um, wow. There are so many historical people that are quite incredible that I would love to glean some information from. Um, Honestly, I would choose probably someone from biblical times. I would probably choose Ruth or Esther. I would love to know who they were and the kind of characters they are. And it would fascinate me only just because I think that we could very much relate to their lives even back then. And I would probably say that we could relate to a lot of like the historical elements that were happening at the time and just see how similar their lives were and their struggles and everything to do with them. I would love to see that in Esther or Ruth. Those two are definitely inspirations from me for sure. And I would love to meet them. A lot of biblical characters is who I'd go to. Um, and maybe some really high, you know, historical people that would be kind of cool. It's a really good, great question, actually, Tasha. Okay. The next question of hers is, what is your favorite snack while reading? So I actually like to eat fruit. That is my favorite snack. And I'm a huge chip girl, but I cannot eat them. They are so bad for me. So I have limited myself to a few kinds of chips and I can only have them for a little bit because they're bad and I can't stop. They're very addicting. It's a problem. So I'm very limited with that. But fruit is definitely one I like to eat while I'm reading. I love that. And chocolate. Okay, next for her was also food related, and it is, what do you put in your tea, sugar, honey, milk, etc.? So I love tea. I have it right here, and I'm sporting a Tim Hortons cup right now, which is totally Canadian, but now it's bought by an American company. So I love all tea, really, but my favorite tea is chai tea, and I will put in no sugar, no nothing, but just some oat milk, which is creamier, or if I don't have that, it's almond milk, and that's it. That's all I have in there. Oh, great question, Sarah. So I'll stop asking these questions. Sarah just asked, dark chocolate or milk chocolate? And I'm definitely a milk chocolate baby. I love milk chocolate. It's something good and creamy. It's so good. But I do like dark chocolate when it's on like almonds or kind of incorporated with some different things. So, yeah, great question, Sarah. And then she asks, Tasha also goes on to ask, do you have an Instagram? I don't, but I used to, and I'm considering getting it again. It's just so time consuming for me. Like, I found like I was just really spending a lot of time on there. Yeah, I agree, Sarah. Yes. So good. Okay, so let's keep going. Book lover Amanda asks, "What is your favorite place to vacation?" Um, I love California. I really like going there. I love the ocean that they have. I'm on the west coast of Canada, so I also see the ocean. But when you go down to the Oregon coast, and I don't know, they get a lot more of the roaring waves, and their ocean side smells a lot better than ours. I feel like we get a little bit more of the fishy smell. But yeah, so definitely love going to California. It's not that far from me. I'm up on the border of the US and Canada, so on the West Coast, so directly below me is Washington, and then Oregon, and then down to California. It's not that far away, so it's a lot easier to go and visit. That is definitely somewhere I like to go. And it's always nice and beautiful there. Like we went in the summertime. Yeah, California does have a salty smell as well, Sarah, for sure. It's fresh, yeah, totally. Whereas it's fishy up here. So, if you ever go this way. Yeah, I agree. I agree, read it again. Totally not great. I'll just put this comment up. California might be a better place to vacation, but I would never want to live there. I agree. I had a friend, she lived there, and uh, definitely agree with you. This is something of an issue. So yeah, that is for sure a place I love to go. We went to the Oregon coast. I have beautiful photos up there, but yeah, the sound of the roaring ocean reminds me of like scripture. It's actually quite cool. And then she asks, coffee or tea? Well, we all know I'm a tea drinker for sure. Depending on the answer, what is your favorite type of coffee or tea? We talked about that is chai tea. I love chai tea so much. And let's see, what author have you read the most of their books? I've read all of pretty much Julie Clausen's books up to date, except for a few, and then also Melanie Dickerson for sure. I think they're the most prolific authors that I would read a lot of. Um, I think that's pretty much my answer. I'm sure there's more. Frank Peretti, I love as well, and I've read most of his books. Not the ones with Ted Decker, but a lot of his other older works I've read most of. But I would definitely say is Melanie Dickerson for sure. I need to catch up with her, and I need to catch up with Julie Clausen. But they are definitely the ones that I would say for sure I read the most of. And then, what book on your shelf is a hidden gem? That is a very good question, and my most of my books are downstairs. So if I run down there, I'm going to get bombarded with children, and so I'm not going to do that. We'll just leave that. Yeah. I totally agree. Frank Peretti's older works here are the hidden gems. Let's just say that. They're definitely hidden gems for sure. Um, Oshina, Gotta Read 'Em All asks, a moment in your life when you realized that Jesus was real. Oh, oh, that is so good. Okay, when I realized he was real, you guys, I this is part of my testimony and love, love, love it. So, so good. It's kind of raw and real, so I'll try to keep it short. But it is definitely the moment where I realized Jesus was real. So I've been on my own since I was 16, and I was 18 at this just before I graduated actually, so maybe 17. And I was basically really low. I was really low. And I had not talked about this to anybody, and I just kinda let I was basically gonna commit suicide. It was pretty bad, and, I was on drugs at the time. It was really, really bad, like, this is it was bad, and I didn't tell anybody what was going on. I kinda hid it. I was very private. I'm a very private person usually, and so I didn't wanna tell anybody what was going on, and I was literally in my living room in my little tiny apartment that I was owning, and I was like, "God, if you're real, you need to come through. Otherwise, I'm gonna go through with this." And I said, "I'm giving you 1 day, so if you're real, you better show up tomorrow." And I had all these stipulations. I said, "You have to show up with this girl that invited me to church a year ago. It has to be her, and I have to see her tomorrow." And so I woke up in the morning. I was still in school, still in high school, living in my apartment, and I was like, skip school in the morning so that I can mess up God's plans, thinking I could mess up God's plans. So I'm walking to school, and it takes me about a half an hour, 20 minutes to get there. And all of a sudden, that girl walks out of a restaurant and she comes running at me and she's like, "Melanie, Melanie, you need to come to church." And I was like, wow, okay, God, you're real. Because no one knew I had said that, only me and God. And that definitely was like, okay, God's real. I went to church the next day and yeah, I gave my life to him, never looked back. So, yeah, really great question, Ojina. Not very many people know that about my story, about me. And yeah, crazy, crazy. Okay, let's see. Sarah says, "Do you base your fiction on your experiences? Because Zoe's story melted my heart." Oh, you read my story, Sarah? Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm like seriously almost tearing up right now. That is a long time ago. Okay, so if everybody doesn't know what Sarah's talking about, Sarah, you have me literally almost like crying here. Um, let's see. Okay. Oh goodness. Terrible. So basically, Sarah's talking about this book right here that is like forever ago, and it's so tiny. And yes, Sarah, a lot of that I did pull from my own personal experiences. Um, I wasn't a pregnant teen, but I did know of a lot, and but her feelings and that sort of depression sort of thing did come from there. That is a crazy long story that I can't believe you read that. I'm so shocked right now. And I wish I finished the stories. That was really badly I needed to seriously get a proper editor for this, which I paid for, and they didn't do a good job of. So I'm so thankful that you read that. And I will continue those stories one day. I'm so sorry that that didn't continue on. I'm sure it left you on a huge hanger, cliffhanger. Um, really? It's okay, she's saying it's on her shelf right now. That is so, so sweet. Yes, it was about maybe 3 years ago or something like that. You're so kind. Oh, you're so, so sweet. Oh, that's so kind. I'm so touched by that, and I really appreciate that. That's so kind of you. Long time ago. So yes, that's very cool. All right, so let's get on to some more questions. That just really brought me back. So sweet of you, Sarah. Seriously. Okay. Favorite meal? Oshina asks. Favorite meal, and I, I love spaghetti. I'm not Italian at all, but I do love spaghetti. It's something I grew up on and I really love. There's also another favorite meal of mine, and I wouldn't recommend anyone eating it just because it's not super healthy. But we grew up quite poor, and so my mom would make this sort of dish, and it was basically rice, mushroom soup, and hamburger meat with some soy sauce, and we called it slop. And it was definitely my favorite growing up. We all loved slop. Yeah, that was really fun. Anyways, so it's not how I eat anymore, but that is definitely something that's very nostalgic to me and would be considered one of my favorite meals. Favorite genre? That is a really good question too. I read a lot of different genres, and I don't have necessarily a favorite one, but I do lean towards historical fiction, but not set in the 1900s. I'm more of an 1800 Renaissance or Dark Ages kind of girl. Sometimes 1700s and things like that. I like romance, obviously. There's always romance, but murder mystery and mystery suspense is definitely one of that is my favorite as well. I love those too. But I mean, like, I love Frank Peretti, and I would consider more thriller. And I like contemporary romance and I like contemporary books. Some of my favorites can be contemporary. So I'm all over the place, and I also like fantasy. I actually don't have a favorite, but I lean more towards those other genres. So that's my answer for that. Um, okay, so Oshina asks what my biggest fear is. I think we all know what that is, and that's height. Considering my last video where I couldn't even climb part of that mountain. Height is an interesting thing. I never used to be afraid of heights necessarily, but rock climbing, when I was rock climbing, I think it's more of a control issue. So if I'm in an airplane and I'm jumping out of it, I have a parachute. So I feel like there's a bit more of a control sort of thing in that. And then I would say that, like, being in an airplane itself, I don't have as much control. And so then I feel a little bit more fearful. And that's something I'm working on for sure with the Lord is just, we don't have a lot of fear, but I have to be honest, like I get scared when I'm up too high and then I feel like I don't have a lot of control over those things. That is definitely a biggest fear of mine for sure. And I think also too, because of my disability, I'm being a little bit raw here. Um, the fear of not a fear of looking stupid probably is definitely there. I get really nervous and I'll get scared around certain environments or certain things or having to speak like this. I get really nervous. Yeah, I do. Because I don't want to look stupid, let's say. And I know I don't, but it's definitely a fear of mine that I have to battle for sure. And then she asks, can books make you cry? I am a seriously emotional person, so I definitely can cry at books. I can cry at movies, at commercials. I'm so sad that my kids are always like, "She's leaking, mom's leaking," and I'm constantly I cry during interviews. Yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. I am a very empathetic person, so I can feel people. I understand where they're coming from, and yeah, I can really, yeah. It's interesting because I started doing some film work, working on films and background acting and stuff like that, and doing acting school. And I was actually really interested to see if maybe I could act and cry at the same time. And yeah, when you have sides, which are scripts basically, you just go into feeling you're reading it like you're the person. And yeah, yeah, it's funny, Sarah. It's so true. And yeah, you read it and you feel the person, you feel their character, where they're coming from, and how they feel in that moment, and within seconds, there's tears coming down. So for sure, I cry at most things, but yeah, it was hilarious going on dates back when I started dating. My at the time now husband, and yeah, I would say don't take me to the movies because I look like a mess. I'm weeping, I'm swollen, I'm red. Looks like he beat me or something, but he didn't. And it looks terrible when we go to eat, say, after we go to the movies. It's just pointless because I look like a mess. Like, for example, Mulan, the movie that came out, I seriously watched the commercial and was bawling my eyes out. It was that bad. So, yeah, definitely cry lots. I think that's all the questions. I didn't see any more. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask them now. If not, then we'll wrap this up in 5 minutes and do a quick, it'll be a nice quick live. So a nice intro to my beginning of live streaming. Is there any questions you guys want to ask? Oh, wait, I think that there was a question. I must have missed it. Um, or maybe it was on my actual video where I talked about, let me just go into my content real quick. So I moved my screen. Now I have less light. Here, let's see if I can make it brighter. I can't. Sorry, guys, it's a little shaded. Okay, let's go into, hmm. I know someone asked me about the books that I was writing, and I pretty sure it's on one of my videos. I'm gonna see if I can do something here and go into, I hope this doesn't mess with anything with you guys. Um, let's see. No, it might not let me go into my studio. I was going to try to pull the questions from my studio, but I'm already in YouTube, so I think it's not going to let me. Okay. Well, since I can't get in there, oh, thanks, Sarah. Well, I'll post your comment in a second. Um, yeah, so I thanks, Tales and Treats with Tay. It's always a tongue twister for me. I had a trouble editing myself when I was talking about your book when I was sending you your books and stuff. She says, "Hey, I came in late. I don't know if any of these have been asked. What's the writing process like? Do you write full time?" So currently, I do write part time, I would say, because I'm full time being with the kids and with my family here. And working side little things here and there, as well as art as well. But yes, I do write regularly and consistently as much as I can. And the writing process is quite interesting. Sometimes it can be literally in the middle of the night that I wake up and I get inspired by something. There's two books I'm working on currently. One, I'm finishing a book, and two, my nonfiction book. So I'll tell you a little bit about them real quickly. So the nonfiction book is basically my life story, um, through the miracles that God has done in my life and the miracles that God has done through my life. Um, because God still does miracles today, and it's really quite crazy. Even just that little bit of testimony that I gave you, that is a miracle that I God saved me from myself and really pulled me, like the Bible says, out of the miry clay. And I would say that that's a miracle, that God at the right timing brought that person in. And there's other things have happened in my life throughout my life that has happened on more of an extreme level. And I want to share my testimony of that. And God says we overcome by the word of our testimony. And so I really have been compelled to write that and write a story based on the experiences I've had that God has done in and through my life as miracles, because He still is a God of miracles. And so that is of the stories that I'm working on right now, for my nonfiction. And then for fiction, I have a few stories that I'm working on, but one I'm finalizing is one I've been working on for quite a long time. I wrote it a few years ago. Within 1 year, I used to spend my Saturdays just writing. I would ask that the kids would let me just write because I was working full time at that time. And so the only days off I had were Saturday, Sunday. Sunday is my laundry day for a whole family of 5 kids and myself. And their dad. So it was a lot of work. Still is a lot of work, especially when we go through a lot of stuff. So Sundays is church and laundry. Literally, that's all I do. Saturdays, though, I dedicated for a whole year to write this novel that I'm finishing right now. It was finished, but then God put it on my heart to add a few things and to edit a few things to make it more, very much more real to us right now, even. So that is a historical book and a retelling kind of smash into one. So quickly about this is there is a queen in the Dark Ages who matched the wicked Snow White's queen perfectly. And she wanted to be an empress and she was ruthless. She also though has an incredible redemptive story, and she her story needed to be told. And I was like, well, I'd like to have some sort of fairy tale element in there because of course I love that storyline. The story of that is incredible as well. And so I paired the two stories together, and that's what I'm currently working on. It was fully edited. Olivia Smith did it. She's an incredible editor, little plug-in for her, and she edited my book. It was fully ready. I was starting to pitch it, um, but I really felt like these changes needed to be made for the story to be very much more real to us now, even though it's set then. So that is what I've been working on. There's a middle grade book and another book that I'm also working on, but I don't want to say too much about those two. Those other two, the ones that I have right now go on the go, are what I'm focusing on. So that is my writing, and the process right now is usually morning that I write. I try to get that out because my mind's really fresh and I want to give the best in the morning. So yeah, great question. Thank you so much. You're so sweet, Taylor. I've talked to you a few times and you're just a doll. I love you so much. All right. Yes. Okay, so okay, I will say Taylor. She says I have permission just to say Taylor, so I will because I think that's way easier, especially for someone who's dyslexic. It's a tongue twister. Okay. Sarah says that's what my writing life is like too. Mom full time, right when I can. Yes, that's what you have to do. I mean, my family comes first, unfortunately. For my writing, it comes first, but for me, I love being a mom and it's like my life. So my children are my full time and they are my joy, they are my life. And so I would never give that up. It was really tough. I'm not going to be honest. Like, it was really tough to write for only Saturdays. That was really hard. And I had to sacrifice a lot of time with them and stuff like that. Now I have more time. So I actually get more writing out, which is really nice. But I also struggle with that right now. So it has to be inspired. It has to be, the right sort of environment. If I get distracted too easily, I can't focus. So I have to really set myself up for writing in general. So yeah, it's tough. We have to balance everything. It's really hard, and but it's worth it though, right? Yes, yes, Taylor. Amen to miracles every day. Um, Taylor says, "Is your salvation story in your book? I'm always interested in people's salvations." So Sarah actually reminded me of this. I have not seen these books in a long time. I have them on my shelf, but I have not really paid attention to this. This is one of my first books I ever wrote, and it's yeah, super funny. The typesetting's funny. The use a lot of explanation marks, but anyways, this story I'll read the back. It says, Meet Zoe, a young troubled girl who has lost her best friend to suicide in a tug of war between good versus evil. All of a sudden, her life takes an unexpected twist. Kicked out at 13, she ends up getting involved in the wrong crowd and now is pregnant. Being summoned to darkness, yet called into light, God reaches out to her. Between an annoying Christian and a kind teacher, it seems God is at her every corner. With no one to run to and nowhere to turn, will she accept Jesus when faced with reality? So this is kind of I pulled a lot of my own personal experience, my own personal salvation story into that book. course, it's a different character, but I use my own personal experiences into that. And then with my newer books, yes, I pull from my own experiences and experiences of the people around me. Um, and the redemption's really interesting. I think we can all relate to some aspects of stories because we all are pulled from the miry clay in our lives. Like, it's really, we're all dealing with hard things and we all are going through our own things. And I feel like God can reach into those moments and pull us out. And I feel like we can always relate to that. So I think for sure I do pull from my own experiences and I bring them into my stories 100%. That is definitely it. But I also can understand and feel from a lot of different other people's stories. Um, and and it's very similar to mine, you know? So it's really interesting to see the dynamic of that and how that can play out in a story and how it can really reach into our own hearts. So, yes, I do, and I also do use other people's. So currently I'm not with a publisher. I was with a publisher for this book, which is the second to, this is basically like the first novel. This is almost like the prequel. And then this would have been the first novel. I was with Tate Publishing for that book. This is literally the only book that got printed, and they went under. And so then I was dropped, and then I really felt like God was moving me into a different direction for my writing. And so I left those for now because I do have the conclusion. I have the whole story. I just want to put it into maybe one whole book as opposed to three separate ones. And so, yeah, I'm working on that, but no, I'm not with a publisher right now. I did get asked to be with a publisher for the historical fairy tale retelling book that I had. And I may choose to go with them. So we'll see how that goes. I still haven't made a decision because I'm making revisions to that story. So they would need to have to accept that, those revisions first. So yeah, I'm still open to publishers for them, of course, and we'll see how it all works out. God's timing is perfect, and I'm gonna just trust in that. So yes, I love them too. They're definitely my favorite. Um, oh, thank you so much, Sarah. I really hope that you like them as much as the first books. It's a little different writing, but it's more traditional writing, and so it's good. Oh, I love you too. So sweet. Yes. So Sarah's saying the first book that I wrote is written like a teen would think. It gives you all the feels and makes Zoe real. Oh, that's so sweet. Seriously, you're so kind. I didn't expect to be talking about my books actually on here. Um, so this is kind of nice. I'm really happy that you guys really like that and that you can relate. Yeah, I definitely did. Some people found it kind of annoying because she dealt with some depression issues and very self thoughts, right? But they are real to a lot of teens and definitely are sometimes some of the thoughts that I would have, you know. So I know that that is something that people do deal with and it is a struggle. So I wanted to have that voice in those books. Oh yes. And then, oh, you guys are so cute. I love all the comments. All right, I think that is it. We did cover a book that I read, so the books that I read a little bit this year, and then we also covered the books I'm writing. And yeah, I think this is a great first time on a live. I'm still nervous, you can tell, but at least I'm doing it. I think that's the best thing about fear. That was another thing we talked about. And even if you have fear, it's so much better just to face those fears and to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And um, I never think that that's a bad thing. I think that that's a great thing. I think God uses his our weaknesses to his glory, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that. So, yes, definitely is nerve-wracking to be live, but I'm so glad that I got to do this, and I look forward to doing another one. It was really nice to actually interact with you guys, like, instantaneously as opposed to, just kind of commenting back and forth on different videos. So that was really fun. I would love to do this more often and even have people on here and just chat. I think that would be super nice. So if you guys have anyone in particular that you would love me to chat with and or want to do another sort of video live sort of thing and what you'd like to see or talk about, please let me know because I would love to know that. And yeah, it's great spending the morning with you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Bye.